865-1168. Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People aged 12 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 59, Tuesday partly sunny with a high near 75, and Wednesday partly cloudy with a high near 70. Tap, taste, and treasure at Vinaigrette. They offer the finest in extra virgin olive oils, white balsamic vinegars, wine vinegars, and more. Reintroduce yourself to all of the many flavors by tasting before you buy. Vinaigrette is located off 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio on the Civic Media Network all over Turtle Island. We talk about Native issues, and as you know, Ogama Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
And yes, they do. Hey, we do news that you don't hear anywhere else, and we are, talking in a native-centric voice here all over Turtle Island. And I want to bring in Ogama Gnu Akwe with the news. Welcome, Ogama.
Hi, Anim Buju, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuakwe, and I'm from the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and I have some news for you here. This news hit me in the heart today. For those of you who have not heard, Sasheen Littlefeather, the Native American activist and actress who declined the Best Actor prize at the Oscars in 1973 on behalf of Marlon Brando, has passed on at age 75. She died October 2nd in Marin County, California. The cause was breast cancer, from what I can find online. And she's been fighting it since about 2018. So um, Sasheen was a pinnacle of Native community in media and in movies, right, Robert? It was did you see her speech at the Oscars in 1973?
I'm not sure if I saw it live, but I've seen it many, many, many times. And if you listen to the intro of the show, she has a blurb in the show that I threw in there. But yeah, they just celebrated her the Academy Award just less than a month ago.
Yes.
We're gonna
Yep.
have Antonio and Antonia and her partner gonna be coming on and talking about that in a week or so, or maybe a month or so. But yeah, it's definitely a thing to watch. And there was more and more information, Ogama, that came out that I never heard until the last few years about John Wayne wanting to go wrangle her up and take her off the stage. I mean, I didn't hear that years ago until just recently.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely something that rattled the cage that is or was Native Americans in media at the time. Most of the depictions of Native Americans in media were in movie reruns of Westerns. And then at the time, Wounded Knee was happening, and there was a press blackout. They weren't allowed to talk about it. So um, Sasheen told People magazine in 1990, she said she went up there thinking she could make a difference and that she was very naive. She told people about oppression and they said, "You're ruining our evening." And it took until, she was 75 years old before the Academy finally brought her back to honor her for what she did, to stand up to them and to say that, this wasn't okay and that Marlon Brando was right in not accepting his award. And, it just hurts. I just showed the video to my daughter, my oldest daughter, this evening, and had to explain to her a little bit of the history and what was happening at that time. And, she watched and, make your make your judgments of me as a parent, but she's watched some Reservation Dogs with me, not every episode, but I've let her watch some of the show. She's 9 years old, and as a 9-year-old, seeing that we have this show, I mean, swear words and some of the adult content aside, I mean, shows like Reservation Dogs and Rutherford Falls and Prey and all the media and things that she reads at school. She's able to read the book Water Protectors. All of those things are possible because of people like Sasheen Littlefeather taking to the stand and really, in effect, at the time that they did it, not really realizing what they were paving for those people that came after. So I feel blessed to have been living a life where I got to see the I got to see both of those things happen. Sasheen Littlefeather's speech and her honoring, and at the same time, my daughter not really, having to explain to my daughter that what had happened because she didn't understand. So, but it's with a heavy heart that I wanted to make that announcement to everybody today. I've only seen it come through in a few places, so I wasn't sure how many people were aware of that. So. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is a little bit of a local event. Just to change gears here, MN 350 is having an Every Child Matters benefit this Friday, October 7th from 3 to 6 p.m. At the Fond du Lac Community Center off of Big Lake Road in Cloquet, Minnesota. And the donations are going towards an ongoing case of child abuse in the Fond du Lac community. So if you have the ability to go on there and do this benefit, that would be great. The case that it is benefiting involves 10 children and many years of abuse, and all proceeds are going directly to the lawyer. They're having a spaghetti feed, a 50-50 raffle, a bake sale, and a silent auction. Again, that is a Every Child Matters benefit happening at the Fond du Lac Community Center on Big Lake Road in Cloquet, Minnesota. And you can email Jessica at mn350.org if you need any more information. That's this Friday, October. It's October now, Robert. Holy buckets. I was not ready for that. Did that hit you like a ton of bricks?
Yes, in many ways, but also the weather here too. It was beautiful today. It's 77 degrees, but I feel the colors are changing, and it's unbelievable how beautiful they are here in Minnesota. They're changing slow, and we haven't had much water or rain or any of those things to move it along. So it's pretty interesting. It's very beautiful here.
Yes. So, while we're talking about Sasheen Littlefeather today, I also wanted to touch base on this new documentary that's coming out or that just recently came out. Unfortunately, as of right now, it's only available in Canada. However, hopefully it will be online and available more maybe on CBC. So it's a documentary that tackles a whole bunch of controversy that we experience as Native people. The documentary is by Drew Hayden Taylor, and it's called The Pretendians. And it is talking about why many people claim to be Native American or Indian when they're really not. So Drew Hayden Taylor is a playwright, an author, and a journalist, and he talks about a lot of Pretendian news coverage, including Gina Adams, who was an American artist and the subject of a story in Maclean's magazine. And she ended up leaving her position at an educational institution in Canada after questions were raised about her claimed tribal affiliation. Um, Drew Hayden Taylor says this is the weirdest things that we've discovered is that 2/3 of people they've discovered are actually opportunist, and they turn their claims of being Native American into profitable careers. Um, so this is like really, really interesting, this documentary that's come out. And he worked with a journalist to help kind of track down some people. And he said it's actually gained a huge hold at educational institutions because there's been a lot of efforts to hire people who come from Native communities, both in the United States and in Canada. So they're finding a lot of people, they're encouraged to hire Indigenous people in academia, and these people are not really Native. So Pretendians premiered on CBC this last Friday, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I do believe if you go over to the CBC website, you might be able to track it down. So if I can find it, I'm going to watch it and I'll report back.
Hey, thanks, Ogama. Thanks for the news. And a sad day here all over Turtle Island. And, you know, the Pretendian stuff, there's people that are still out there getting money and grants and things like that all over Turtle Island that are just claiming to be Native American. And that's a whole nother show, right? You know, hey, we're going to be up next. Who are we going to have next, Ogama?
Dr. Antony Stately of the Native American Community Clinic.
I think we're going to have Danica first.
I don't know.
We'll be right back.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters. And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People aged 12 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we got Dr. Stately coming on, and then we also have a person that really is dear to your heart, Ogama, and we can talk a little bit about what she accomplished here in the last few days ago before we get her on or not get her on.
No, she'll be here. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we had a little bit of a scheduling flux, but later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Danica Burr, who is a relative of mine, and she just completed a 100-mile run. Meaning she ran physically on foot 100 miles in awareness about Orange Shirt Day. So this last week, Thursday into Friday, September 30th, she ran for over 19 hours straight, all through the night and all through the next day. She ran from Twin Buttes, North Dakota to Bismarck, North Dakota on foot. With the support of some really wonderful people in her community. She's from the MHA Nation in northern North Dakota, and I'm really proud of her for what she's accomplished, and I'm really excited to have her on and talk to her a little bit about what inspired the race and how it felt to run that far. I can't even imagine. Robert, were you ever a runner?
Only from the police. Only ran from the postal, but that's another story and another show too. No, but one of the things that happened to her, I guess, is common for runners, and I don't know, I can't get that vision out of my mind. Is a lot of times, and especially we just had the Twin Cities Marathon here, and I just got to give a shout out to all the natives that ran that. That was an amazing thing. But there's stuff that happens to their toenails when you run a long way.
Yeah, sometimes toenails fall off, or your feet get really blistered badly. Those types of things. I've heard a lot of chafing. People sometimes bleed from different areas of their body from long distance running. And if we're doing a shout out for Native people who ran the Twin Cities Marathon, I just want to say that shout out to April. Dr. April Cumminghay did the 10-mile portion of the Twin Cities Marathon. She's also from North Dakota and is a relative of mine. So shout out to you. I got to get on the train and apparently get in shape because all the women in my family are getting in great shape. And I'm a little bit behind, I think, on that. But I did have a baby this year, so I'm kind of letting myself, ride on that good grace, right?
You got to pass for sure. You got a little alien that came out of you. So you now have 2 children, and you have a pass, and then we'll be bothering you in about 6 months about starting to run for the next marathon.
Absolutely. Hey, Robert, did you hear anything up to date about what's going on with Leonard Peltier's case? I know we've talked about the Leonard Peltier Walk for Justice that's currently happening, but I just learned some new information that I didn't really understand until just recently, and it makes everything even just harder when it comes to Leonard Peltier. Do you mind if I talk about that for a minute?
No, that'd be great.
Yeah, so Indian Country Today, or ICT, has a new story that just came out on Friday talking about Leonard Peltier. And Leonard Peltier's lawyer has basically been saying, he's been in prison for 46 years. What more do you want? And what's happening is that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, claims that Peltier is in prison for murder, but Peltier is actually not in prison for murder. The government couldn't justify a murder case, and he's serving in the Coleman Penitentiary in Central Florida on charges of aiding and abetting the murder of federal officers, and then 7 years for an escape attempt. So he's already served a longer sentence than most principals in murder convictions. And the evidence that was brought against him was highly flawed. It was later found that much of the evidence that was brought against him was solicited evidence. It was forced evidence against him. So Kevin Sharp is the attorney and former U.S. District Court judge who's representing Peltier actually pro bono. And they have a petition to President Joe Biden calling for clemency. And, this is one of those things where it seems, there's a war on Native people. And that makes those types of people, we were just talking a little bit about that Pretendians documentary. It makes those people who pretend to be Native Americans increasingly frustrating, right, Robert? They want to gain the money and the fame of being a Native person without actually having to feel any of the hardship.
Well, that's a really good point, Ogama, and I think that's it in a nutshell. It's like they haven't gone through what your grandmother or your fathers went through or you've gone through, but they want the money, they want the smudging, they want the sweetgrass, they want all these things. And there's other things that come with it. There's a lot of controversy about the DNA testing. And one of the things that's always been told to me, even though I did it just to see who else or whatever, and I found a half sister, blah, blah, blah. But, it's more than just the blood to be Native American. It's more than powwows and it's more than these things. And that, your sister knows that, your kids know that, your husband knows that. I know that. And it's part of the community, being part of the community. Wherever we go places, you and I, Ogama, or if they see me first, they ask if you're there. And I go, Bobby P right here. No, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And, I think what frustrates me too about the Pretendians is that there's a lot of people that I know, and I was one of those people as a young person myself who didn't have that much connection to my Native culture. I grew up off of the reservation with a grandmother who had gone to boarding school. I didn't really know any ceremonies or had attended anything other than a powwow, until I was well into my adulthood. And we have a lot of members of our community like that need to be welcomed in, that need to say, hey, it's okay that you don't know how to do this stuff. Welcome to our community. Let's teach you how. Like on Reservation Dogs, where Alora invited Jackie to come learn how to make fry bread, right? Maybe she just needs to be invited. So if you're one of those people that was like me and you are not really sure how to break into your Native community or how to be Native, quote unquote, be Native. Don't be afraid. It's okay. There's a lot of people in community that are going to welcome you, and the right people will be there for you. So don't be shy.
I tell my daughters, and I do this too, and it comes around full circle with this questioning is basically, who are you? And most people, natives, ask you that in a good way because, for instance, what my daughter, or what I would say, or what I've taught my daughters to say, and I know you do this too, Ogma, is like, I'm Eagle Clan. My name is Wakunjahare, which means distant thunder. My Gaga was Helen McKee, and my great Choka was Howard McKee Jr. And I'm in the McKee family, and Eagle Clan, and those things. Normal people that are trying to steal identity of Native Americans can't say that, and they can't go generations back.
Well, and we even have some people in our communities too that maybe don't know that information. Maybe they were raised in foster care or they were adopted and they're looking for that information. We can't forget to have those people, join our community. But I think that there is definitely plenty of cases of people who are, kind of abusing that system and, benefiting still further from that colonizer system that separated our relatives from us. And now they're struggling to get back. There's people that are still benefiting from that colonizer system saying, well, I don't know where my family came from, or And I think what's really interesting about it is it's really when those claims of indigenous identity are called, most often I think the people that are not being truthful about it are those people like the person I mentioned in that story from Indians.com in the Pretendians documentary. They leave their positions. They scrub their social media. They essentially just drop off of the map. Those types of people are ashamed of what they've done, so they disappear. And you're right about the introductions. Most traditional culture introductions include your name, your clan, if you have one, who your family is, who your relatives are. I'm Bullhead clan from Red Lake, and my father was a Needham, but my grandmother was a King. And a lot of people I know used to know my grandmother when she worked down at the deli. And I wish I would have got more of her recipes before she passed.
Yeah.
But she never made fry bread, which is interesting too. I didn't see my grandma really make fry bread ever. So that was something I came to in community later, and we all gather these things in our knowledge of ourselves and people and our communities, and even find out things about our family later in life. So it's really hurtful when we come into these people, or we run into these people who would like to say that they're Native American when they're really not.
Well, it's also, I guess, I don't know if I can speak for you, Ogama, but it's also really, it runs you down because it happens so much. It's like, oh, not again, this person here. And, it happened a lot, especially, when I was young. It's like everyone thought Cher was, everyone thought Elvis was Native. I mean, all these people, we love Johnny Cash, but he said he was Native and found out he had no Native blood in him. All these icons that wanted to grab on the native identity, but didn't want to go through the trail of tears.
Hardship.
Right. Hey, good talk, Ogama, as always. I just was thinking too, as you were talking, I really miss your stories too. Maybe sometime you could do the stories again. You're listening, your old stories. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Up next, Dr. Stately. It's his birthday. Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio this week when we'll be talking with Land Stewardship Action. We have a vision for a better tomorrow, healthy soils, and a food system that works for people and the planet. And this upcoming election season, we need to elect leaders who not only share this vision, but will work to make it a reality. Your energy is needed, and Land Stewardship Action is here to help you put that energy to use and be part of putting democracy into action at all levels of government. Listen this Saturday at 8 a.m. or go to landstewardship.action.org.
Hi, everybody. I'm Santita Jackson, and I want you and all your friends to join my new show, The Santita Jackson Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota.
AM 950 Movie Night is back on Wednesday, October 12th at Crooner Supper Club. We'll be showing Greg Palast's new film, Vigilante, Georgia's Vote Suppression Hitman. Rick Smith will be in town to host a panel discussion about the movie and voter suppression. So come early and get a delicious dinner from Crooners and meet Rick Smith and other AM 950 staff. That's AM 950 Movie Night showing Greg Palast's new film, Vigilante, Georgia's Vote Suppression Hitman on Wednesday, October 12th at 6:30 at Crooner Supper Club. The movie is free to attend, but we do require registration at am950radio.com.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
Next Chapter Booksellers has lots of new books in stock just in time for fall. And while we're sad to see summer go, the colder weather does make better reading weather. So stop by the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. Browse the shelves, or if you're not sure what to get, ask a friendly bookseller. We're great at making recommendations no matter your taste. Next Chapter Booksellers also has a wide variety of puzzles, games, and even some early holiday shopping gift ideas. That's the independently owned Next Chapter Booksellers in St. Paul.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 59, Tuesday partly sunny with a high near 75, and Wednesday partly cloudy with a high near 70.
I'm Angela Warner, and my grandpa Jim Warner taught us to treat customers like family. And to thank you for 68 years, Warner Stellian is offering unbeatable appliance savings. Go to warnerstellian.com for a $50 exclusive coupon.
Bijou. I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by J&S Bean Factory, a native-owned community coffee shop in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Hey, Ogama, you made this really great little thing here that I've been playing with, and I just want to wish Dr. Stately a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And Ogama put the "we appreciate you." I didn't write that, so welcome.
Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that.
Vinod Divishkam, Dr. Stately, welcome on your birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, so I don't even really know what to talk about tonight. Another year older, there's a responsibility in all seriousness with us that are getting up there in years that, like your great mother did for the community. And now we all have to take a deep breath and see where we fit in this as an elder.
Yeah. I mean, I think that probably somebody earlier was saying to me, you shouldn't tell people you're 60 because you could probably pass for 50. And I was like, I'm not embarrassed about being as old as I am, but thank you. That's actually very kind and generous. Thank you very much. My bones certainly feel like they're 60. So, I noticed it's harder to do certain things. Like I started trying to run again recently, and that is definitely harder on my knees and other parts of my body. Like I wake up the next day after a 5-mile walk/run with my dog, and I wake up the next day and it just feels a little bit more difficult to get out of bed, and move around.
I stopped getting the newspaper because it's hard for me to bend over and pick up the newspaper. Wow.
Maybe you could have asked him, can I pay you $5 extra for the month, and you can throw it on top of the roof. Or wait, that probably wouldn't help either. You could aim for something higher.
Well, turning 60, besides physically slowing down a little bit here and there, I think you have really that a lot of knowledge, a lot of perspective. I mean, I'm looking how far I've come as opposed to how far I have to go, and that keeps me in a good way with my psyche and being at this age. And I'm really, really serious about you're a well-respected elder now in the community and have been, you were junior elder.
Yeah, junior elder. Well, I don't there's part of me that I think of an elder is somebody who has a specific sort of role and responsibility with it. And I haven't always thought of myself in that way, but I suppose to a certain extent I'm stepping into some of that positionality. But I think one of the things I just wanted to so today, like I wasn't going to work, and then some things happened and I had to sort of move some meetings around, and I was trying to meet with this really important person in our community, Dr. Thomas Wyatt, and I'm director of emergency services at Hennepin Health, because there's a project that I'm working on that I desperately need his involvement in, and his recommendations and advisement, and quite frankly partnership. And this is a role that this is some work that I'm doing around trying to prevent more opiate overdoses in our community. Yeah. And he's in charge of the emergency services department at the largest safety net hospital in Minnesota. So of course, he's like, well, I'm really busy. The only other day I have to do is this. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll just schedule the meeting. And then so I'm like, well, I'll just work. Since I'm already there having a meeting, I might as well just work because I've got plenty of it to do. And, I have never been a big birthday celebrator. I have never thrown a lot of parties for myself or done any of those things. It's, for me, part of that is also because it's just in my philosophical sort of perspective. It's for me, it's just another day in my life. It's an important day to acknowledge, for sure. It's the day I entered the planet, but that isn't the most important thing, I think, in my trajectory. I've had a lot of other really critical paths. I posted on Facebook last night and said, I'm celebrating my birthday, but really, there's a big part of my life that was definitive that happened 15 years ago, the day that I adopted my sons, the day they were born. That was way more important to me in terms of how I think of myself in my current role. As a father, as a responsible person to sort of raise the next generation and all of those other things. And then of course, the role that I do in the community, and the role of being a good relative, trying to show up for all of my relatives, both blood and non-blood related, and be a good role model, have some integrity in what I do, and just try to walk this path and be the best relative I can be while I'm here. And none of us are promised any other days other than the one we have, right? And so I've come a long way, but I also have a lot further to go. There's a lot of things I want to achieve, and a lot of other things I want to do. I want to do some things with my boys before they, get to an age where they don't really want to spend any time with their dad. So I would like to take them on some trips and do some things. Right.
Right.
I'm looking forward to the day that I'm a grandpa. I really want to be a grandpa one day, and I'm hoping that I get to live long enough to be a grandpa and see my grandchildren and raise them, or help raise them.
Things don't. There's a couple things for me. I'm 61. I'm a little older than you, and that don't bother me like they used to. And also things I don't care about that I used to care about.
I think you have I don't know, what I notice is I don't sweat the small things as much as I used to. I know that if I wake up tomorrow, there's a couple things I know to be certain. One is that the earth, she's old, she's been around a long time, she's much more powerful than anything else other than the creator. And the world is going to continue to spin, and there's going to be some things, and we're going to, if I'm lucky, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be part of the rest of the folks that are on the planet that have an opportunity to affect change and do something really meaningful and important. And if I'm lucky and I'm blessed, I'll have that. And hopefully that'll be true for a number of years to come. But I think one of the things that I don't really pay attention to those things. I have my eye on the horizon and paying attention to the things that are really big and meaningful and important in our community, and in my family. There's things I need to do with my kids. I need to, silly things, but they seem really important now. Teaching them how to drive. If for no other reason other than to make them a little bit more independent, and also, quite frankly, to give me a little bit of time where I don't have to drive them around to hockey games and a few other things. So I don't pay attention to the smaller things. I forgive more frequently. I let things slide more frequently. I don't carry a lot of negativity or burdens the way I used to. I don't let them have a lot of space in my life anymore.
Yeah, every day is a gift. That's why they call it
Yeah.
the present. Did you
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Every day is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Yeah. And the most important things that we have, the most important gifts we're given is one another, the relationships we have in our life. I have amazing, amazing, amazing people in my life. Some of them are on this radio show. I'm just kidding.
Wow. Oh.
But I mean, I've been blessed. I have had the most amazing life up until, and hopefully going forward, I'll continue that. One of the things I think that's really I got clean and sober 35 years ago on October 27th, 1985. So what is that? 36 years ago?
That's 38.
38. Yeah. Something like that. Anyway, that's really kind of a big part of when my life as I know it now took a turn and became, a much different path for me. That's the sort of the birthday that's really important to me, the one I acknowledge. And then I could not have imagined a more fuller, rich, beautiful, wonderful life than I have. And I certainly couldn't have imagined that when I was drinking and using drugs. I just couldn't imagine that. Like I mentioned to somebody the other day, I've already lived way longer than I expected to live. I thought that when I was in my early 20s, I'd be dead by 30. So I'm I'm already, I'm already 30 years into the gravy here. So,
Yeah, definitely. One of the things too, Dr. Stately, I always think about birthdays is we should be celebrating the mother on my birthday because we did all the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. And I know that my mom, bless her soul, she's not here with us anymore, but I see her all the time. Her name was, Oningwi Shishada Ege, which was a woman who sweeps away with the crane's wing in Ojibwe. She sort of is named for that role that a woman had sitting at the head council fire, advising, the leaders in our community, the male members of the council, protecting the women and the children, being the voice of them. And, she really played that role in my own life, and she played that role in our community. And she overcame a lot of adversity to make sure that that I and my siblings were able to have the kind of opportunities and the kind of life that I have. I acknowledge all of the women in my life, my mother, my oldest sister, who was like my mother after my mother passed, or she raised me even as a child, my two older sisters, many of the women in my life, my friends, my colleagues, my adopted mother, Dee Bigfoot. These women have shaped me and crafted me into the man that I am. None of this is my responsibility independently and of my own free will. People have, shown up and given me, helped me to see the opportunities in front of myself and helped me to sort of understand my responsibilities and my opportunities. And there was a point in my life when I wasn't able to see any of that. And thank God these angels were brought to me. So if there's one thing I would say to people is pay attention to the angels in your life. They're presented to you as human beings. None of them have wings. Almost none of them do. But they show up and they shape and recraft your life in meaningful ways, even when you're not even aware of it.
Wow, let's take a break on that note. I think when I look back at my life and all the good things that have happened, they happened to me, and I happened to show up for life, and people really, really helped me all these years. We'll be right back. We're with Dr. Stately on his birthday.
Don't fall for vaccine misinformation. Local medical professionals are available to answer any of your questions. Initial shots and boosters are safe for people who are pregnant and even young children. Right now, vaccines are available for anyone over 6 months of age, while boosters are available for anyone over the age of 5. This message brought to you by the Native American Community Clinic. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation. Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Wow, that was good. Danica, I didn't see you move your mouth, though.
Oh,
Wow.
I didn't know I was in on that.
Oh,
Want me
wow.
to go?
Yeah, you got to howl by yourself now. Sorry. There we go.
Awesome.
Nice
Awesome.
job.
Good sport. Well, we have Dr. Stately here, and it's his birthday, and we want him just to relax and listen to the show and join in on this quick interview. Ogama, why don't you take it from here, and we'll have Dr. Stately and I shoot questions at Danica.
Sure, absolutely. So, everybody, I'd like to introduce Danica Burr, who's a highly accomplished athlete and relative of mine. And she just did something amazing over this past week. She ran 100 miles in awareness for Orange Shirt Day. She ran from Twin Buttes, North Dakota to Bismarck, North Dakota. Danica, if you'd like to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm Danica Burr. I am from 3 affiliated tribes, and I'm also Northern Cheyenne. And is there anything else I should include in there?
No, that's plenty good. That's plenty good. What's on my mind after watching you, I kind of got this awesome like backstage pass to watching you do this through your brother. But I was wondering if you might be able to tell us what inspired you to do a 100-mile solo run.
Wow.
Well, it kind of just formulated from a conversation with Angel and Sierra. Angel was looking for ideas on what we could do to bring awareness to Orange Shirt Day, and she'd been a big part of it in Bismarck last year. And Sierra mentioned doing the walk. They did a walk, I guess, and we weren't sure how we would be able to kind of put that together in Bismarck being in Twin Buttes. So then we thought, what if we did like a ride or something? And I randomly just kind of shot out that, but what if I just did it? What if I just kind of, what if I did the whole thing? And then we kind of took it from there. So it was really just for the acknowledgement and the awareness of Orange Shirt Day too, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Absolutely.
amazing. Dr. Stately, it's your birthday, and I'm going to give you the first shot at this, but how many toenails do you think Danica lost during this 100?
I can't even bet you like 5, 4.
No.
Maybe? I don't know. Is that a
Danica-
quiz? Is that a thing? We're actually gonna like wrap
Oh,
off
it's
for toenails or something?
really common for runners to lose toenails. But Danica, did you actually lose any?
I didn't, I'm surprised too, though. We thought for surely that the two on both ends of the littlest one and the one next to it were going. The blisters were so big on that part of my feet and my toes that it looked like they weren't going to hold on. But they're still there. They're still intact. So that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
How did
That's awesome.
How did you prepare for this? Because I had some friends run the marathon, the Twin Cities Marathon, and they were really preparing for this for months, and they were still kind of struggling the last 5 miles. I know I would be, so I shouldn't even say they were struggling. They were still, they did it and they finished it. But how did you prepare for this?
Well, when we had started talking about doing it, I had already started training for a 70.3, a half Ironman. So I'd already started putting in some work for that. I had been doing a lot of cycling and swimming and running. But once I decided to add this to kind of something I was going to do within the year too, we started focusing on more volume and more. So not necessarily looking at mileage, but working for hours at a time. So doing like 3 hours on a bike and then doing 2 or 3 hours on a run afterwards. And then maybe waiting until the evening and then doing like a couple more hours. So on weekends that I could make the time to do that, I would do big blocks of work.
Wow.
But yeah, it was just kind of like consistently trying to make weekends a priority to make sure I could get some training in.
How are you recovering from this?
Saturday was rough. Saturday was pretty rough.
I bet.
Yesterday was better, and today I'm actually moving around pretty good. I did a couple of ice baths on Saturday, and then a close friend of mine that does triathlons as well, he let me use his compression boots, and I think that helped like immensely. I had them on for, I want to say about a couple hours, well, probably closer to 3 hours on Saturday, and then at least an hour on Sunday before I got him back to him. But yeah, it's been pretty rough. And drinking tons of water. I was so thirsty.
I bet.
Yeah.
How long?
That's remarkable. I ran marathons decades ago, and man, I thought 26 miles was going to kill me. So and I was young. I was in my early 30s. Late 20s. So yeah, it's kind of remarkable that you did what it is. Can you tell our audience or listeners like what Orange Shirt Day is about and the significance of that, so that they all know?
It's just about survivors and the well, do you want, like, I don't know if I should start from the top.
Sure. Take it from the top.
Yeah.
As they say in showbiz. Well, I'm a boarding school survivor, and I don't think a lot of people think of like people who are still alive as being boarding school survivors, right? They think people who are survivors are people from lived 100 years ago or so.
Right. They think it's pretty far removed, but it's really within, a generation or 2 or 3, even for so many families. For every family, I feel like every probably Native American family has a story within itself of how it's affected them and affected their lives. So it's just to bring awareness to that and to those that didn't make it home, because there's been so many, there were so many children that didn't actually make it home once they were taken from their
ever come home. They were unmarked graves, and
right, and it hasn't been investigated in the United States as well. So that's something that's so many unknowns.
Well, I just want to say really a big peeny gigi for doing this and having bring out the awareness. Maybe next year you can do 200 miles and run to the Twin Cities, and we'll do a fundraiser.
Oh man, I think it's more than 200 miles. The Twin Cities, Robert.
I think
that's
I think it's probably 300 miles. I think.
Oh well.
I think it's. Go ahead, Danica.
Go ahead, Danica.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. And I would think that your hooves would be in really bad shape after that run. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think was the hardest part of this, Danica?
Like during the run or just in general all around? The run?
Yeah, I was gonna say either or. Either or is fine.
It was really busy trying to organize it. We worked really hard. The four of us, Angel, Sierra, and Blanche, and I, Melanie Moniz, Sierra Spotted Bear, and Blanche Hunslong. I should say their full names. It was a lot because we all are moms and we have lives, and it was busy putting it together. So it was a lot of work kind of organizing it. But then of the run itself, again, that was actually kind of a lot. You know, have to have a pilot car. I had to have fuel for it to make sure that it was constantly, and I'm not talking about gas in the car, but I'm talking about like I had to eat every 30 to, I want to say 50 minutes. I was eating and drinking water constantly. And then I think physically, after about mile 50, it really started to hit me like what I was doing. It was like, this is getting really real. And the decline probably started really in between like 65 and 75, where I got pretty.
Hey, I just want to say thank you for doing that and having an awareness, really. And Dr. Stately, there you are running there. Dr. Stately, I want to wish you a happy birthday today. And Ogma, thank you for all you do. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and we'll have you on again, Danica, and talk deeply more about it. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay with us tomorrow.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to
Happy birthday, by the way.
We'll be talking with
Thank you.
Action.